Sarah remembered a time when Mark's eyes held only her. His laughter was a song she knew by heart. Their home, once filled with shared dreams and gentle touches, now echoed with silence. A silence that was heavy, pregnant with unspoken words and unshed tears. The vows they had made, promises whispered with such earnest love, seemed to drift away like smoke in the wind. He had changed, or perhaps, she thought with a pang of sorrow, he had simply revealed a part of himself she had never seen. The man she loved was fading, replaced by a stranger who shared his face but not his heart. His touch, when it came, felt distant, almost an afterthought, a painful reminder of what was lost. Mark's unfaithfulness was not a sudden storm, it was a slow erosion, a series of small betrayals that chipped away at the foundation of their marriage. First it was late nights at work, unexplained, then a scent of unfamiliar perfume clinging to his shirt. His phone became a fortress guarded with a password she didn't know. Each discovery was a fresh wound, a sharp stab to her already aching soul. She confronted him, her voice trembling, her hands clenched. He would deny, then deflect, sometimes even blame her. His words were like stones, bruising her spirit, leaving her feeling small and invisible in her own life, in her own home. The disrespect followed the infidelity, a cruel twin. He no longer asked about her day. Her opinions were dismissed with a wave of his hand. He spoke to her with an edge in his voice, a sharpness that cut deep. She found herself walking on eggshells, constantly trying to avoid his displeasure, to somehow earn back a sliver of the affection he once gave so freely. But it was like trying to catch water in her hands. The more she tried, the more it slipped away, leaving her empty and exhausted. The vibrant colors of their early love had turned into muted, sorrowful grays. She felt a profound loneliness, even when he was in the same room. She yearned for the man he used to be, the man who made her feel cherished, safe and deeply loved. Sometimes in the quiet of the night she would look at his sleeping face. She would search for a trace of that man, a flicker of the love they once shared. But all she found was a growing chasm between them, a distance that seemed impossible to bridge. Her heart ached with a sorrow so profound it felt like a physical weight pressing down on her chest. The dream of their forever was crumbling, and she didn't know how to stop it. She felt herself breaking piece by piece. Yet Mark's friends were a reflection of his new life. They were loud, brash, and seemed to thrive on a diet of late nights and casual conquests. When they were around, their laughter was hollow, their jokes often crude and demeaning towards women. Sarah would retreat into herself, feeling like an outsider in her own home. These men, with their easy smiles and even easier morals, seemed to encourage Mark's worst impulses. They clapped him on the back for his freedom, for his ability to live without constraints, without considering the wreckage he left behind. Their approval became a dangerous fuel for his actions. She saw how they spoke about their own partners if they had them. There was no respect, no tenderness. It was all about conquest, about maintaining an image of carefree masculinity. Sarah often wondered if they even understood the meaning of commitment or the sanctity of a promise. Mark, once so different, began to mimic their talk, their swagger. He adopted their careless attitude, their dismissal of deeper feelings. It was as if he was trying to fit into a mold that was never meant for him, a mold that was slowly suffocating the good man she once knew. He was losing himself in their company. Their influence was like a creeping vine, slowly tightening its grip around Mark, pulling him further away from her, further away from the values they had once shared. Whenever she tried to voice her concerns about his friends, he would become defensive. "They're just guys, Sarah," he'd say. "You're being too sensitive. You need to lighten up." His words dismissed her feelings, making her feel as though her concerns were trivial, her pain insignificant. This only deepened her isolation, making her feel like she was battling this darkness alone, without an ally in sight. She knew deep down that these friendships were toxic. They validated his betrayal, painting it as normal, even admirable. They offered him an escape from responsibility, a world where consequences didn't seem to exist. Sarah prayed for him to see. She prayed for him to recognize the dangerous path he was treading, guided by these companions who seemed to celebrate the very things that were tearing their marriage apart. But her prayers at that time felt like whispers lost in a storm, unheard and unanswered. The shadow of his companions loomed large over their fractured life. In the depths of her despair, Sarah sought refuge. The weight of Mark's betrayal and the constant ache in her heart became almost unbearable. She felt lost, adrift in a sea of sorrow. It was then that she turned to prayer, a lifeline in the turbulent waters of her life. She found herself drawn to the quiet sanctity of the local church. Its old stone walls seemed to offer a sense of peace, a momentary escape from the turmoil that consumed her days and nights. Within those walls, she could breathe. She could let the tears fall freely, unseen and unjudged, or so she believed. Each prayer was a whispered plea for strength, for guidance, for an end to the pain. She prayed for Mark, for his heart to soften, for him to find his way back to her, back to the man he once was. She prayed for herself, for the courage to endure, for the wisdom to know what to do. The church became her sanctuary, a place where she felt a glimmer of hope, however faint. The rhythmic cadence of the hymns, the gentle words of the sermons offered a small measure of comfort to her wounded spirit. It was here, amidst the hushed reverence, that she tried to piece together the shattered fragments of her life. It was during one of these quiet visits to the church that Brother Thomas first approached her. He was a respected member of the congregation, known for his kind words and his seemingly devout nature. He noticed her tears, her evident sadness. He spoke to her with a gentle voice, offering words of comfort and understanding. He told her she was not alone, that God's love was a powerful healer. His initial attention felt like a balm to her raw emotions. Here was someone who saw her pain, someone who seemed to care, a stark contrast to the indifference she faced at home. Sarah, starved for kindness and validation, found herself looking forward to these brief interactions. Brother Thomas always had a sympathetic ear, a comforting scripture, or a reassuring smile. He spoke of faith and resilience, and his words resonated with her deep need for solace. He never pressed, never pried too deeply in those early days. He simply offered a steady presence, a seemingly selfless concern that began to penetrate the walls she had built around her aching heart. She saw him as a spiritual guide, a beacon of light in her overwhelming darkness, unaware of the subtle shift in his gaze. Brother Thomas's attention gradually became more focused, more personal. He started seeking her out after services, engaging her in longer conversations. He would compliment her strength, her resilience, and then her beauty. He spoke of how her inner light shone through, despite her trials. His words were like a gentle